Do you think the war you see on TV is somewhere far, far away, that it will not affect you? Well, think again. Suddenly, your internet line or your source of energy, electricity, gas, in other words, your lifeline could be destroyed. How, you ask? By those who go to war or those who go to proxy war. Have you ever wondered about the hidden infrastructure that powers your life? It's all in the ocean, at the bottom of the high seas. Under the waves, there are millions of kilometers of submarine fiber optic cables. In fact, they transmit 99% of international data, literally connecting the world and its economies. And you know what else lies under the sea? Gas and energy pipelines that transport oil and gas to major economies of the world, making undersea infrastructure critical to the global economy. And today, these undersea cables and pipelines are under threat. You heard that right. Not space, not cyber, but undersea warfare is the new threat. Seabeds have become one of the new frontiers in modern warfare, and attacks on these cables and pipelines are already happening, by the way. Let me explain this. Just weeks after Houthis warned that they might attack undersea network cables, the Yemeni group seems to have started the next phase of offensive. After disrupting commercial shipping traffic, the Houthis appear to be holding global communication systems to ransom. Several undersea internet cables have recently been damaged. As is the case with all undersea disruption, establishing what has happened is difficult. Right now, it's not clear just how many cables have been damaged, but internet monitoring firm NetBlocks confirmed that services in Djibouti were disrupted. And similarly, broadband submarine cable system Seacom also reported cable issues. Flag Telecom founder and telecoms entrepreneur Sunil Tagare also said on his social media account that it was confirmed that several cables had been cut. It was not clear where this confirmation came from. Now, cable breaks are normal. It happens all the time. Oftentimes, it's because of a ship or a small fishing boat dragging a hook. But when several reports emerge simultaneously, it does raise questions. And that's our job, you see, to ask questions. It happened months after Houthis warned that they would do this. The Yemeni group had claimed that they have easily accessed maps showing the confluence of undersea communication cables that run past their coastline through the crucial Bab al-Mandab Strait. Now, you should know the strait at its narrowest is just 32 kilometers wide. But the question then emerges, do they have the expertise or the technology to carry out such an operation? We're talking about the Red Sea. The fiber cables there, which carry 17% of the world's internet traffic, lie on the seabed hundreds of meters below the surface, well beyond the reach of divers. It's the high seas. It's international waters. Sure, the US and Russia are both thought to have the naval capabilities to cut them, but it would involve deploying a deep-sea submersible from a mothership and then using giant pair of scissors for severing the cables on the seabed. And if that sounds a bit excessive, that's because it is, even for the US and Russia. So the question that still remains is, can the Houthis do it? And even if they could, they would need an ally, someone who can supply them a submersible and the ability to locate these cables. Yes, the Houthis do have an ally, and that's Iran. So could Iran enable the Houthis to cut the undersea cables? Experts don't think so. They say they have seen nothing in the Iranian order of battle that could touch these cables. Sure, diving is an option, but it's so deep and busy. The threat made by the Houthis on their Telegram channel, in fact, would be hard to carry out. But the Houthis have surprised everyone before. They have also survived nearly 8 years of airstrikes by the Saudi-led coalition. And today, despite repeated US-led airstrikes on their missile and drone bases, they are showing no signs of backing down. Which again brings me to the next critical question. where. We are not sure where the cables were damaged since Djibouti reported internet disruptions. Could the cable breaks have happened near the country, or was it in the 100 meters of fast-flowing water beneath a busy shipping lane out in the street? In that case, all traffic between Asia and Europe would have been disrupted. The point is, cutting cables without being detected out in the strait is more difficult than it looks. It's a task for specially equipped submarine, not a job for the Houthis or even the Iranians. At least that's what the experts say. Still, the fact that cables have been reportedly damaged is reason enough to be cautious. And here I must mention that the sabotage angle is yet to be confirmed, and this is why questions come up. But you see, it's not just internet cables. Like I said, the seabed also houses pipelines. And earlier this week, coincidentally, Denmark ended its investigation into the Nord Stream attacks that took place in September 2022. The multi-billion-dollar Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines that transported Russian gas to Germany under the Baltic Sea were ruptured by a series of blasts in the Swedish and Danish economic zones. It released vast amounts of methane into the air that should have reached people's homes. It was also Russia's primary means of exporting gas directly into Western Europe. But the blasts occurred 7 months after the Ukraine war, which basically triggered a wide range of Western sanctions against Moscow. Now, Denmark has dropped its investigation into the explosions, becoming the second country, by the way, to do so after Sweden closed its own inquiry. And earlier this month, Sweden dropped its investigation into the explosion, saying that it lacked jurisdiction in the case. Only Germany seems to be interested. A German government spokesperson recently said that Berlin is still interested in solving the case. It is widely speculated that the attacks on the Nord Stream pipeline were carried out by Ukraine with the US assistance. Despite no party being officially blamed for the attacks, Russia and other observers have consistently pointed fingers at the US. And this theory gained further traction when, after the explosions, a video of President Joe Biden had surfaced in which he promised to end the Russian gas pipeline. And this only added fuel to Russia's claims that America was involved in the pipeline's sabotage. The lack of any blame on the investigation front has only added to people's suspicion. I mean, Denmark investigated and concluded it was a sabotage, yet they refrained from pointing a finger at any likely culprit. It's the same story with Sweden. And this is why many continue to make the US the culprit. But then again, Western reports also pointed the finger at Russia. Moscow could have done it. Satellite pictures, in fact, show ships sailing there at the time. It could be Ukraine. A yacht was found with traces of explosives on it. It could also be China. They had a ship there that was missing an anchor. You see, there are several suspects. As far as the Red Sea is concerned, it is going to be a challenging task, to say the least, to determine who was responsible for cutting the cables. And the reason being, there are many international warships present in the area scanning their radar with great vigilance. The US Navy carrier is also, by the way, present in the region, keeping an E-2 Hawkeye radar plane up around the clock. Any ship that behaves suspiciously in the area will see action from the US and its allies. And so far, there have been no apparent attempts. And this makes the Bab al-Mandab Strait a different challenge from the Nord Stream. It raises the question of who would be capable of and interested in covert, fully underwater sabotage, whether it is targeting undersea cables or gas pipelines. Experts refer to this type of activity as grey zone activity, which is a new term for sub-military adventurism. But one thing is for sure, we must acknowledge that undersea disruptions pose a very significant threat to our critical undersea infrastructure. It includes electricity, oil, gas, data communication. This risk is increasing, and we need to be prepared to deter, detect, and also respond to these threats, whether they originate in the Baltics, in the Red Sea, or closer home in the Indian Ocean. Countries need to be armed and ready to protect it. We are now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.